being a conservative atheist?
Okay, so I have an issue in general with wanting to be on the side of atheists because I find that atheists generally tend to lean left-leaning politically, and I find that that is a more immoral stance than the right-leaning.
Okay, so the left values offend your sense of morality, and you find that this is an impediment to your capacity to support the community as a whole. Is that what you're saying?
Right. I don't find that there's much right-leaning atheists out there in general.
Okay. I think you're probably correct.
Right.
What about, is it possible to support atheism in the sense of maybe separation of church and state issues? Would you stand with the left on that? You have a little bit of background noise going on, if you can check that.
Yeah, give me 1 second.
Sure.
Shoot. Yeah, hello?
Yeah, wow, that's much louder. Okay, so anyway, what about where do you stand on separation of church and state issues?
Church and state issues, like...
Do you believe that church and state should be separate?
Yeah, I believe state and most things should be separate.
State and what?
And most things?
I think people should have, like, freedoms generally where the government's not that involved.
Okay, so you lean kind of libertarian.
Yeah.
Okay, so there is a good slice of atheists that are libertarian from what I've seen, right? I'm not going to say it's definitely not, you know, the numbers that you're going to find of left-leaning atheists, but I think libertarian probably would be the next group that I encounter.
Right. I'm fine with libertarian. The issue I want to discuss is the fact that atheists want to generally take over. They want people to be atheists. They want everyone to be on the same, what's the word I'm looking for? Same page. They want everyone to be on the same page. There's no reason to believe anything supernatural exists. There's no evidence for any of it. And we should all, it's logical and reasonable to want people to go along with this ideal, right?
I think that was a bit general, but I'm going to say let's go with that for the purpose of your call.
Okay.
I think it's less about...
So I'm with that too, but the problem is I find that people on the right are going to be saying if the left-leaning ideas are immoral and the atheists lean towards the left, then you see why you need God and the right. You get what I'm saying?
I don't understand why we would need God, but I can understand if somebody...
I understand I don't understand that part either, but I understand they're saying that and why they'd be saying that.
Yeah, if they believe that a certain group is functioning in an immoral way, I can understand why they would be opposed to it. I would be opposed to something that I felt was immoral as well.
It's different being opposed to it than saying you need God for it.
Yeah, I agree with that as well.
Those two different things.
Sure.
So they'll say, like, for example, let's go with some positions. There's first off, there's the First Amendment. It seems to, from the right, they feel is being attacked in general. The rights to bear arms, the Second Amendment.
The First Amendment. Okay, so let's look at that. Let's look at the First Amendment. So for example, Jeff Sessions just announced that they've got like a new religious liberty task force because they want to focus on oppression of Christianity in the United States, right? That Christians are being persecuted in this country and they want to make sure that doesn't go on. And I guess my question is, do you believe that Christians in the United States are persecuted?
No, I think a lot of these things are just very blown very much out of proportion. There's a lot of talking going on and yelling at each other. But
so then on the first point,
there's no legislation being passed that's saying that. There is on the left side though. There's like, for example, in New York right now, landlords cannot misgender someone. If they misgender somebody, they can get fined or something. I don't know the exact thing, but these are like actual attacks on a mistake for someone from the left.
I'd have to look into that.
I mean, a mistake versus like you intentionally like misrepresenting someone on an application or something like that. I'm not sure.
Right. Should someone be forced to have to call someone by a gender? Is that moral to force someone to have to call someone? Like, if someone calls me an idiot, I don't care. Call me an idiot. And it's more reasonable, I think, to tell me, don't let that bother you, over telling me, oh, we should get this guy in trouble for calling you an idiot.
Okay, so here's the thing. Let's just look at this. According to Snopes, there's a claim that a new New York City law prohibits discrimination against transgender community. New York City has released new guidelines regulating discrimination on the basis of gender identity. The claim is property owners in New York City will be fined $250,000 for using improper pronouns due to new transgender laws. They've ranked this as a mixture. And they said what's true about it is that the New York City Commission on Human Rights released new guidelines in December 2015 regarding discrimination on the basis of gender identity or expression. What's false about it is that accidentally referring to a transgender person with the wrong pronoun in New York City will result in a $250,000 fine. So that part is not true.
It makes sense they would release that because Obergefell.
So releasing guidelines, basically saying here's how to deal with this issue. Here's how to deal with a transgender person, right? Here's how to be sensitive to the transgender issue, in my opinion, is fine because landlords are going to have to deal with people who are transgender, and so it's good for especially a Commission on Human Rights to deal with, hey, here's the proper way to deal with the situation. And since they're not going to be fined if they don't do it, is there a problem with simply issuing a statement saying that you think that somebody should be treated in a certain way?
With respect to how they identify.
I don't think there's rights to how you should be treated. I think there's rights to life and the pursuit of happiness and different things like that, but how someone else is going to treat you, I don't think there's a right. They're going to start...
Well, wait a minute. This is the New York City Commission on Human... There's a New York City Commission on Human Rights. And I think it's kind of...
I don't think it's the rights issue. I think this is a human behavior situation that they're trying to control, which I don't think...
How are they trying to control it? In what way are they trying to control it?
By telling people how they... By whatever you want to...
It's called a guideline. Do you understand what a guideline is?
I know. That's why I'm like...
A guideline doesn't force you to do something.
I know. I get that.
Okay. The New York City Commission on Human Rights releasing a guideline is not compelling you.
Right. Okay, fine. I think we're a little off point, though. The point I was making initially...
Well, it's not, though. It's not off point because what happens is when somebody says, hey, the left is off, off their nut here, right? This is good.
I made a mistake, and I'm admitting...
It's not a mistake, though. I mean, it's what I'm saying is it's something that happens a lot, right? So that when I hear this a lot from people who are like, hey, it's almost I don't know. Anyway, I guess my thought is if we're not going to take these point by point, and I agree with you, we probably shouldn't, then what are we going to talk about in this call?
No. We should take this by point, but I think...
Well, then this is going to be a very
talking about the
painful call.
And the legal stuff over the actual matter of...
I guess I'm not here to debate whether you should be left-leaning or right-leaning, right?
I know.
What I'm doing is...
the overall idea. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
You were saying your view?
I'm just saying that I'd like to know what the call is about. You lean toward conservatism. You're an atheist. You're allowed to be an atheist. You're allowed to be conservative.
Sure.
Initially you were saying, hey, the problem that I have is that I can't feel aligned to the atheist community all the time. I totally understand that. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to fix it for you on a call. I don't know what to tell you.
Okay, so I want to. My idea is this show gets thousands of viewers at least, and I think it needs to be brought to attention, put out there that there is a, oh my gosh, I should have written this all this down. Okay, that there's the
pro tip for future callers.
What?
I said that's a good pro tip for future callers to write the thoughts down. I think that's actually, I'm not making fun of you. I think that's actually a really good idea.
I actually did write all this stuff down. The problem is I have a very weird situation of how I can deal with this call. Okay. I can't really be sitting and reading what I wrote.
That's fine.
Right
Sure.
That's fine. Like I said, I'm not mocking you. I really do think it's a good idea.
You can mock me. It's okay. Anyhow, so the thing is, if there's people on the right who think that the left-leaning agendas are immoral, I think it's important for atheists to understand each other's views on that issue in itself, not always just be attacking about whether the Bible is true or God is real or anything like that, because this is I think this is more of a serious matter that actually
I think atheists do attack each other over these things, though. I think they do hash it out, and I don't think it gets resolved very well most of the time. I mean, I've seen enough resolution that I do think it's worth having the discussions, but at the same time, I've seen a lot more where it's just devolves into conversations I wouldn't want to be party to. So the problem that I guess, if there's going to be an honest dialogue, I'm fine with that. People can have an honest dialogue that goes on and on and on, and I don't have an issue with it. But when it just devolves into two people that are talking past each other, I don't see the point of that continuing. But I definitely see atheists often saying, we don't have to and we don't agree on anything but we don't believe a God exists.
Right.
I mean, I've seen atheists say that, and we say that on this show, that there's a reason they compare it to herding cats, because atheists are all over the map on issues. And I agree that we do have general left leanings. I'm not disputing that part of it. But there should be no assumption about what an atheist believes when you meet somebody that's an atheist, because you can't tell. Like I said, there's a pretty.
Oh, that's
you have to ask the question.
No, I'm saying that's kind of to all atheists. You can't assume. Because it's just, we don't believe a God exists, and as you're pointing out, this doesn't really inform a whole lot, right? We say that all the time because people are like, oh, how does this, so then that's your worldview. And it's like, it's not really much of a worldview because it doesn't inform a lot. If it did, we'd have a lot less division within the community.
Right, but there is something there, though, because at the end of the day, there is a culture in play from atheists, especially with the social media and everything. You'll find just from the internet and everything of what people are seeing with the atheist movement, because there is definitely an atheist movement, that they're all lining up politically generally and on the same views. A majority of it seems like this from like the majority of atheists.
But there are
atheists I speak to.
Yeah, but there are definitely there's definitely other forums though that are what I would call is backlash to this. Right, like I think there's definitely atheist groups that have a backlash to this, and that are, generally detested by people on the left because they are supporting all kinds of things that they consider to be misogynistic, racist, blah 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 blah. And so you get this kind of divide. But I think there are communities of atheists that are right-leaning and that are. In some way, I don't want to just say that they are only a reaction to the left, but in some ways they're reacting to each other. But the reality is,
I guess I agree with that.
Yeah, and so there are right-leaning atheists who are, and some of them are, and I'm not saying that people on the left don't get angry and that there aren't angry people on the left, but I'm saying that I've run into a lot of angry people on the right who are part of groups where they are definitely having some kind of forum happening.
Well, it's definitely nice to hear. But
well, I mean, it's true.
The initial thought of me making this call was just about the idea that atheists seem to be, with all the outspoken ones, and the general rule seems to be more left-leaning. And there's a
right.
that I think that needs to be discussed more, with the fact that people on the right will find left-leaning atheism to be immoral. Left-leaning people, I mean, in general, to be having immoral stands.
Okay. Well, here's what I want to do then, Andrew, because I believe, I agree with you that it definitely is an issue. It is an observable fact about the community. I think that what you're saying is correct. And I think that if your goal with the call is to sort of bring it to attention, raise awareness, and say, hey, this is happening, and I have thoughts on it, and it affects me as a conservative atheist, that's a fair use of the show, to use it as a platform. I would also encourage you in this case to go to the show blog, right? So we post a blog at Free Thought Blogs, and you can find a link to the blog from the homepage for the Atheist Experience, and post your thoughts there as well. Feel free to use that forum as well to kind of share this conversation there. That's something else you can do to use the show to sort of get that going. So I would say, feel free to go and post to the blog. you're going to find a mix there of people, because we had some dialogues, a couple dialogues on abortion, for example, where people were disputing it quite a lot. Like there was a lot of conversation going on back and forth that not everybody was in agreement with. So there's going to be a mix of people. It's going to probably be what you're used to. You're going to find a lot of people on the left, and you might find some support. When you go and post there, know that the first post has to be moderated. I went there today to post the show post, so I just want to warn people and kind of issue a sort of a meekish apology. There were 14 pending posts, right? And I didn't even look at the timelines. But you might have to wait a little bit.
I feel bad leaving you going because I heard this a million times listening to your show every single week.
Okay, so go and post and wait for your post to go through, and once it does, you can then post at will. Okay?
All right.
All right, well, thank you, Andrew.
Can I just say one more thing quickly?
Sure. Yeah, why not? You waited all show.
One thing, I think this is kind of important. This is something else entirely. For your show in general, I don't know if you have like signs or saying what people in your audience should be doing or not, which I imagine.
No.
But I think
we don't have that budget.
I think it would be a good idea to like make it a point that they know, like if there's a sign or something that suggests not to be laughing at people calling who might have a view that sounds absurd, because I feel like I hear that, and I feel like that guy on the other line is probably humiliated.
You know what? No, you know what? To be fair, Andrew, you're not the first person to raise that issue. Okay, so people have different views on it, and there are some people who think it's kind of fun and funny, and it's just like it's part of the experience. Yeah. And there's other people like you who say, hey, I think this is kind of disrespectful to the callers, and I think that it's sort of a rude thing to invite people to call the show and then treat them in a way that humiliates them. So
I think that's what's going on. I think the audience is responding, but yeah.
I mean, I think it is there's times, I'm going to be honest with you, like there are times when I'm on the call, I don't know what people are going to say. And sometimes somebody will say a thing and I can't help but laugh or crack a comment or something. And I don't even think about it.
You can't control them. I just figured maybe a sign or something.
My intent is never to hurt somebody's feelings, right? I think I would feel bad if the person was genuinely hurt by that.
No, I don't think anything bad. You guys do great. Okay. Like, I'm on the right, but I'm also like, I'm not on the left at all with anything. But when it comes to like atheist stuff, you guys are like, I learned all this stuff of understanding, critical thinking and different things from you guys. And I actually became an atheist listening to you guys, honestly.
Well, thank you. Thank you for your call.
All right.
All right.
Yeah.
Bye, Andrew.